Hey y'all, it's a podcast called Fresh.
Ladies and gentlemen, blerds and blerdettes, welcome back to a podcast called Fresh. I am one of your co-hosts, Kellen Conley, aka Kels, and across from me in Detroit, as always, Miles Amadeus Prower. Maps, what's up?
What's good, man? What's going on, man? I know it's been like a second since we had my man Kels back on here. It's been a little bit of a different show, but hey, you know, we still think it's a rotating cast. Good
Absolutely.
to have you back, sir.
I'm happy to be back, man. Always glad to be back on APCF, man.
Glad to have you, man. We're not home without you, man.
Oh, you're a flatterer. So there's been a lot of books since we last talked.
Yeah. It's been a little bit of a break. We apologize for that. We got kind of wore out with the whole every week thing. Like I was saying before, we're trying to do it so we can get it weekly. But this started getting just the whole keeping up with the whole House of X, Powers of X, and this hobby, you know, we got called lives.
Yeah.
It gets kind of hard.
It became quite the task, but I'm glad to say that Powers of X and House of X is now completed.
Yes.
And now, let's see, there's been House of X4, House of X5, House of X6, and then House of X and Powers of X completed. I forget which was the last one we covered. I'm going to guess it was, I think 5 and 6 are the ones that we haven't covered yet. So
yeah, I think so.
When we last left, there were some major deaths that happened in the X books, man.
Yeah.
Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Archangel, Husk, M, all of them died on a suicide mission to stop Mother Mold from coming online. And then House of X happened. And Maps, I know that you've been waiting for a while to say your piece on this. So Maps, what is your thoughts on just House of X5 after as great of an issue as we thought House of X4 was?
To me personally, it just low-key killed the huge interest I had in reading the comic as a whole. Like, I almost wanted to stop because I get the whole point, but it just show, I don't know, like I was telling Kels and I was telling Doc, I'm spoiled from reading manga and independent comics and things like that where people take risks and things happen. And it's just the next episode, and I promised my man Bang, we don't agree too much on stuff, but it was lame storytelling. It was whack storytelling to me. The fact that you didn't take a risk and they brought them all back and it was good, and I'll say more what I feel about the whole thing afterward because I don't want to just be spoiling crap. I just thought it was just really anticlimactic and it made me feel dumb because we was in our feels that last episode talking about that, man. Like deep in our feels, and it was dope because I like that. It was dope and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm feeling something. And then for them just to be like, and here's a MacGuffin, and this is how nothing is like, then it's just, it made more questions for me than it did, like, oh, okay, that was kind of cool. But that's just me. I'm trying to keep my riff. Like I said, I'll say more once we finish.
For me, it had the opposite effect because as big of a moment as like the issue 4 of House of X was, and then that moment Wolverine and Nightcrawler had that we were just both fanboying about.
Oh yeah.
As amazing as that moment was, the fact that the X-Men are damn near invincible now, that's a pretty incredible plot twist that Hickman threw in there, man, for me. So I'm not mad at all about this. I mean, I feel like I see your point about issue 4 meaning less, but I don't think their sacrifices were made in vain. I mean, obviously they had to die before they could be reborn on Krakoa. But I just really like the high-end concept and the story of where everything is going and what it means to the X-Men, because the main thing is, we talked about it, the mutant population has been wiped down to almost nothing, even with Hope Summers coming in and the population slowly regrowing after M-Day and everything. But still, with this new system that Professor X and Magneto have tricked Mr. Sinister into creating for them, where they can literally replicate any mutant, like any mutant in the world that they have on record,
That is kind of dope. I'll give you that. That is kind of dope.
It's easily not, obviously it's always been that the reason humans fear mutants is they're supposed to be becoming they're the superior race that's going to replace mutants or humans. This has guaranteed that not only will they rebuild their population, but they'll also be able to ultimately fulfill their destiny of becoming the master race on the planet, even if it's for a small time.
Yeah, even with my complaint, I was more mad that I was made to feel something, and then it was like, oh yeah, that was just. But even with them bringing them back, I'm not mad. It makes sense. It's like with all the mutants you got, you should be able to bring someone back. You should be able to do something, at least something. I mean, all the stuff they got. So it's cool. I'm like, and then it was dope just the people they used to do that. And it's like, all right, you got Hope, who they had Proteus, Gold Ball. I think that was dope for somebody. If I've been getting fleshed out on him on Miles Morales Spider-Man. Pretty cool cat. And it's just dope they found a reason for something to do with his powers. I get the whole thing. I mean, but my gripe is I'm an old head, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, it's logical, and I'm glad they brought Proteus in there. And I said before, with all this stuff, you should know no one should ever die. And I guess there you go.
Like I said, I was honestly expecting you to be more upset, but I guess that's what happens when we're weeks out from when the issue came out.
Well, no. I'm gonna my greater rant. I'll save that for the end.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, and then again, this is Marvel Comics. Initially I was angry. My main thing is I'm angry because they made me feel against my will, and I was cool, and it's like we was invested, and then it's just like you took all that away. I would have rather they did the bring them back later thing, but I get it. The whole story, I get it. So I'm not even gonna be tripping about it.
So we've briefly touched on that. So Maps, you have finished reading both books. I've finished reading both books. Where do you want to kind of start to pick up after that? And then we can come back around to your rant.
All right, I guess where we left off, what was it on Powers of X4? Did we cover that one yet?
Yeah, we covered Powers of X4. Yeah, we covered Powers of X4.
Okay, yeah, because I know that's the one when they was talking to Sinister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, forgive us, y'all. We've been out of it for a minute.
Yeah,
but yeah, I thought, and this is just real short. I want to say I thought that joke was dope. I love how they had Sinister was batshit crazy, and it's just dope. And I always thought it was dope that if you're gonna do anything, I like how Sinister is the kind of villain. Well, I think they should put him in the movies. He's a true evil to me, like Dr. Doom. You can't kill them. You have to deal with these people at some point. And they're evil to the sense that even if Dr. Doom's not doing anything trying to take over the world, if you could sneak up on him as Sinister, they'd be up to no good.
Oh, absolutely.
I thought that was just dope. And it's like, they're not really evil for the sake of evil. It's just that, who's going to stop me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, because it was crazy when Powers of X4 hit, because, I mean, literally it was all about Professor X and Magneto going into this den of secrets to find Sinister, man. And literally it was like Sinister in every form possible. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's beautiful how flawed he is. He's so self-absorbed. He has a whole pretty much state of clones of himself who all work for him. And then what's iller is that who's more self-absorbed than him? He overthrew himself.
Yeah, seriously, he did. He killed himself right on the panel, yeah.
Right on the panel, and I love the fact that how they have it he's batshit crazy. He's not he's crazy. Like when he was like, oh yeah, I like your cape, Magneto, yeah. I wish I had a cape. Yeah, sir, you should have had a cape. I always thought you should have had one. Why didn't you say anything? Kill him. Chop my man apart immediately.
Yes, he did.
Then the other thing that was dope was the other Sinister who took over had a cape.
I know. He immediately had a cape.
I
don't remember, again, I've missed things, but when did Sinister get so nuts?
He's been nuts for a while. Okay. That's one of the things. He's always been nuts, but the better and the smart. When he got the part, I forgot when they had the whole Phoenix thing, when all of them, when it was split into 4 people and shit like that. That's when he had his own place, and he had a whole bunch of Madeline Pryor's worshiping him, and he had a whole kingdom of his own and stuff, and he tried to fight them, and they pretty much just blew his ass away. But like I said, again, another thing that's dope with a villain, you can't get rid of him. So it's you beat him, he'll just come back some other time.
Yeah, and another big takeaway that I took away from that issue of Powers wasn't the whole thing mentioned that Sinister had no idea That's my dog. Brooklyn, stop being so loud. Thanks a lot, you goofball. Wasn't it mentioned that Sinister had no idea that he did the thing that Professor X asked him to do, but at the same time, it wasn't that, like, he did all the sequencing and all the coding, everything, but wasn't it, like, said that he had no idea, like, the grand scale of everything that was being done with everything, like Professor X being able to, like, replicate X-Men and stuff and mutants?
Yeah, well, yeah, you can't tell Sinister. He's the kind of nigga, if you need a rocket, you don't tell him what the part he's building is for.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, what do you need? I just need propellant. For what? Never you worry. You just beg me to propellant. And then like later, if you've seen like the notes for the Sinister report, it said something about they switched out another Sinister before they even knew it. And that's the whole thing with Sinister. It's like, you don't know who is who. He's like, it's almost like a super evil multiple man, but the dude is like a genius and it's dope because he's really just a human.
Sinister's secrets are great in this issue. Absolutely.
That's another thing. They need to put him in the movie because it's dope. Because like Sinister could tell you the truth to your face. He'd tell you like, hey, your name is Kels. And you'd be like, is it? I wonder, is it a lie? Like, you don't know. That's the whole thing about he never tells the truth and he never shoots straight. Him shooting straight is more scary than him telling the lie into your face.
So real quick, before we take our first break, Maps, casting Sinister, who comes to mind? Anything off top of your dome who you want to see play that role?
I don't know. As whack as it is, I could see Ryan Reynolds voicing him.
Yeah.
Really good, just for the fact that how like Sinister just talks amongst himself, but he's Deadpool, so you can't have him be anybody else other than Deadpool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's kind of his crowning achievement in the, not in at least the Marvel film lore. We don't call him in the MCU quite yet, but yeah, I could see Ryan Reynolds doing a great job in that role.
Quiet as kept, I could see Nicolas Cage if he took it seriously.
Nick Cage would be good. You know who I think would be really interesting in this role?
Who?
Other than the physicality might be a little difficult for him, but I mean, if you just literally have him doing normal Sinister stuff where he like imposes his will and it rarely comes into physicality, and so it really gets to that point. I'm thinking, man, he's a little short, but I wonder what Tom Cruise would be as Mr. Sinister, man.
If Tom Cruise took it seriously?
Yeah.
I think he could get low key. You know who else I think would do good? And you'll probably believe me, the rest of the people won't.
Okay.
I could see a serious Jim Carrey playing him.
I was thinking Jim Carrey, but then I thought about the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer and I got sad. so I left Jim Carrey out.
Just the fact, imagine Jim Carrey. You know, he would ad-lib Jim Carrey talking to Jim Carrey.
Oh, man.
Dog, that shit would be bananas.
It would be wonderful. And people would be scared because of the whole Riddler thing from Batman Forever. But Jim Carrey's a hell of an actor when he wants to be. And he's funny as hell.
Yeah, he's good as hell.
Combining both of those talents would be really great. So that did cross my mind. So I'm with you there on that one.
All right.
So we kind of started messing around with the casting a little bit. We still got a lot of powers and houses of X to talk about. I think we're going to go ahead and throw it to a break, though. Let y'all go take a little restroom break or something while we play one of these dope ads. And then we'll get right back with you.
Be right back. Blerd Up.
Blerd Up?
My name is EG, and I am the host of 2 shows that are part of the Hyphen Podcast Group. The first show is called Catch the Show. It's a show where I talk about music-related news and pop culture, upcoming tours that you may want to catch shows of, and I tell you about a show that I call it, because it's the #1 concert review podcast in the world, and I've reviewed shows from Beyonce to Kendrick Lamar to even the Backstreet Boys. So yeah, that's Catch the Show. The other show is called The Underground Monster. Slightly different kind of show, but still music-related. It's where I cover basically underground and independent hip-hop, horrorcore, and the juggalo culture. So yeah, if you're interested in either one, go to hyphenpodcastgroup.com and or go to your favorite podcast platform and just search for them and hit that subscribe button, okay? Got that? Cool. Now let's get you back to the show you were originally listening to.
No, kitty, it's my pot pie. It's a podcast called Fresh.
Hey, yo, what up? It's your boy Maps. It's Kel Khan, podcast called Fresh.
Chill.
Yeah, and we back like we never left. So, let's see. We starting this Powers of X5, if I'm correct. I gotta go over my little notes here and whatnot. I got little notes.
Yeah, we just did 4.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good, I think, issue. I'm happy, and ironically, I was complaining about why my nigga Forge wasn't in here, and then they just shit me up in the first couple of pages of this, because I'm like, he's the Tony Stark of mutants.
Yeah,
he should be getting way more shine than what the fuck he does.
Tony Stark with long hair and a bandana, man.
And a Native American.
Amen. Happy Indigenous
And he
Peoples
used to
Day.
bang Storm.
He used to bang Storm. Let's just get right down to the brass tacks.
Yeah.
So the Forge part was super, super dope because they kept mentioning Forge here and there, like, oh, we got to talk to Forge about that. Forge can figure this out. He would pop up journal notes, so to speak. And then here's the conversation where literally Forge, like, Xavier's coming to him like, yeah, I want to back up mutants' minds. And Forge is like, what are you talking about? Like, how are you going to do this? And he's like, if you do this, you got to, like, put these on some secure servers. And, like, Professor X is like, oh, yeah, I need about 5 of those. Like, no problem.
And I found an indefinite power source.
I know. One of the things I love about these 2 series is for once in their life, they keep mentioning how mutants are never prepared for, like, when the end comes, for when the bad comes. They're never ready for it, you know? Yeah. And everything that they've done leading up to these final issues maps is an effort to be ready to ultimately, I hate to use this word, especially Magneto around, but to be the final solution for all mutantum, you know?
They're finally playing for keeps.
Exactly. And that's something we've never seen in their entire 70-plus year history at this point, where it's always been about the dream. Oh, you know, humans and mutants living together, skipping through a field. And now it's like, Professor's like, you know what, fuck that.
He sees what it is, and it's like, you know, fuck it. We got it. Like, even them coming together, Magneto and you know, Professor X coming together. And it's like, side note, I love how Professor X is like, okay, you think Tony Stark is a manipulator. Professor X will manipulate your ass. And he's like, he like this whole thing. And when y'all go back, and of course y'all gonna buy it and read it and get the trade paperback, you watch how Professor X doesn't tell anybody shit.
He doesn't.
He just brings you to a place, talks to you, tell you what he expects. Like he had, like my man Cypher, he took him to Krakoa to learn the language and stuff. My man had his shit already packed, and he thought he was there for a vacation. He's like, what the heck is going on? Well, yeah, how long would that take? I don't know, maybe about a month, a year? I don't know. Well, you better get started, nigga.
Exactly, and then he pieced out on him.
He pieced out, just like he's talking to Forge. He's like, yeah, he gives him the idea, and then once you get like, oh, he's wet your whistle with the idea of it, then he just says, all right, you want to do this, want to do that, blah, blah. You tell me how it's done. I can't even get mad. He's good at what the hell he does.
And that's why he's part of the Illuminati. And speaking of making people do things that he wants them to do, I mean, we had this whole conversation with Forge, and then the new Cerebro got mentioned, and then we bounce over to Emma, who we've seen a few times in the series, had some memorable moments already. Yeah,
can't complain there at all.
No, man. And then it's not just, and then Professor X is coming to Emma, like with this offer for the new place, the safe haven for mutants. And not only is it Professor X, you got your man Eric there, Magneto there, repping as well. The two of them working together in their black and white contrasting outfits, man.
Which is low key kind of it's a reverse on, you know, the good and bad. But another thing I think, which I think is dope, and I wish they would bring her to the Marvel, you know, cinematic universe, is that watch how they came at Emma Frost. It took both of them. They had to catch her in public. And then even then, she's like, whatever, dog, come on. But the whole thing I like about it, they know they had to deal with her. And even then, she low-key had my man Magneto. He was like, yeah, we'll do this with the drug and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we'll give you exclusive rights to it for like, what did he say? Like 5 years. What? No, I'm sorry. Longer than that. That's
he was saying, we were thinking, he said a 20-year contract. And she's like, and he's like, yeah, we were thinking a 50-year exclusive contract.
They don't bring that bullshit to Emma, dog. She's about that paper.
Yes, she is, man. And one of my favorite lines from this whole conversation, not only was she had 2 seats on the council, she made them give her 3 seats on the council. And then when she was like pushing back on everything, like, I don't know about this is stupid. And then finally she was like, you know what? One more time then for the children. All right, I'm in.
And that's another thing I love about Emma is like, and I can't think of no other. She's just an aggressive, powerful woman. They would call her a bitch, and then she probably wouldn't care. But Emma loves kids. Yeah. And that's like a dope thing that I think. And if y'all haven't read about her and stuff, Emma Frost, you need to go back. She used to be the White Queen, bad guy. She started teaching at the school. Pretty much all her students.
Generation X.
Died. Yeah, Generation X. The team got disbanded. They got fucked up. Then she was on Genosha teaching when Genosha happened. Mm-hmm. So that fucked her up. And then like she had another team. They got fucked up. And her whole thing was just to help people. And then she turns into Diamond, which is dope because this is like a metaphor for how she's cold on the outside, but she's really different on the inside. I thought that was dope.
She's become one of my favorite mutants over like the last 10 years even. And
for real.
Let's say 2000. Let's just say last 20 years. Let's be fair.
Dang, we some OGs.
I know, right? Old as hell.
But she has a hell of a redemption arc. A hell of a redemption arc.
Yes, she does. And I really love all the pieces coming together to build this new Krakoa society and the Quiet Council of Krakoa. And I know we're only on Powers 5, but I mean, we start seeing little bits of the council reveal. Yeah. We got Professor X, Magneto, Sebastian Shaw, Emma, and then a bunch of stuff that's blanked out that we learn in issue number 6 that we're going to talk about. And then Cypher and Krakoa. Krakoa, the living island.
He's his own person.
Yeah, man. That is super dope, man. But anything else you wanna say about Powers 5?
I like how they had to get my man Sebastian Shaw. Cause it's like, I like how this is like, and I wish they would put this up in the movies too, as far as like the Hellfire Club. The Hellfire Club, until there was like the Illuminati, the Hellfire Club's plan was to be like the mutant Illuminati. Mm-hmm. Sit back, make paper, don't be seen, control shit. It's literally like the eyes wide shut stuff, for real. And it's just dope how, each one has their power. Like my man Sebastian Shaw, he's a jerk, but he's hard to kill because my man's power is he absorbs energy. But I like how they knew we need the Hellfire Club because we need this money. We got to get our stuff together. And I thought that was real logical. And I like how they're tying up a lot of these loose ends here.
And she was like, but I just got rid of him.
Then also, that day, I feel like they were trying to do me some fan service here because with my man Namor, the Submariner, when Professor X did a little thing and went to speak to him, I like how Namor was not having any of that shit. He was like, oh, I'm happy. You say that. He said, but take it as someone who knows I'm better than everybody else. I don't believe you think you're better than everybody else. He's a get away from me and don't come back until you believe it, little man.
Oh, yeah. I completely missed. I mean, not that I missed it when I read it, but I forgot all about that page because Namor is, ironically enough, probably one of the most original mutants has been on the MCU in the 616, And for Professor X to reach out and be like, Namor, please come home, like, hey guy, we haven't forgot about you. And then Namor is just super arrogant, perfect spot on Namor, man. He's like, oh, well, I guess that you finally realize you can't trust surface dwellers or whatever, but, nah, fam.
Yeah, and then another Mark, like I said, another great villain. You have to deal with that nigga. You can say, forget him. Dude, I run the ocean. All the ocean. When they come to Namor and they be like, dog, it's about to be World War IV. I bet. Well, all y'all be dead, then I'll take over the land.
Yeah, man. Namor is nothing to play with.
Nothing at all.
And then we get some Phalanx stuff at the end of this issue. And there's more Phalanx stuff in Power 6 too. And
yeah.
Maps, I think we should before we get into the Phalanx stuff in House of X number 5 and 6, because there's some couple of things we want to cover there as well. Or not 5 and 6. Which one was the one with that one villain? What was it? You know what? We'll just take a break. We'll come back and we'll answer that question.
Well, that was good. Blerd Up. Woo-hoo. All right, we're gonna have to end it right here. You already know what it is, and you already know how we do. So, we're going to try to get back to y'all soon. We're not going to try, we are going to. Going to try to keep these more consistent for you, because why? You're the shit. That's why. So on behalf of myself, Kellen, Doc, and the rest of the podcast called Fresh Family, thank you for listening. Remember, just because you live in this world does not mean you have to exist in this world. Don't let it get to you. Read you a comic, find you an anime or manga, blur it out. We get back with you. Blerd Up.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and comment. This has been a Hyphen Podcast Network production.
They're the bestest. I'm getting paid at exposure.